Hello everyone, and welcome to Etellan. For today's video, I'll be continuing on with my Avatar series, as I had done in my previous videos. In those videos, I made some of the show's most iconic characters, like Avatar Kyoshi and Katara. I asked what character you would like to see me make next, and there was an absolutely overwhelming response from the community, with which I'm so grateful. For this video, I'll be making the highest community requested character I think I've ever had, the blind bandit TOPH BEIFONG. To start off my TOPH doll, I'll be using a pre-stripped Dracula head as my base. Her head had already been stripped with 100% acetone and hair removed through an incision in the back of her head. I prepped the head for a face-up with a coat of Mr. Super Clear Matte Varnish. Once that's dry, I grab some watercolour pencils and start developing her face. This was probably one of the hardest dolls I think I've made this year. I did about 5 different face-ups on 5 different doll heads, and I just couldn't make it work until I ended up landing on this Dracula head. That, and I injured myself halfway through filming, so it just added to the time that it took to end up finishing this doll. I kept thinking maybe I wasn't doing the Melon Lord justice, so she cursed me. The basic idea I had for TOPH's face-up was to have it a little bit more stylized as opposed to her childlike look within the show. A main characteristic of TOPH's face is her big grey eyes that act as a really beautiful contrast to her black hair. In doing the face-up, I had to account for the fact that most of her face will be covered by her long fringe. So I had to be really selective in where I spent my time and detail putting in each section of this face. This basically resulted in developing blushing and texture on her jowls, nose and chin, and adding a cheeky one-sided smile with a shadow dimple. In researching this doll, I looked into various examples of people with blindness and visual impairment in order to get an understanding of how to replicate that in TOPH. I realised once I moved onto hair that I wasn't representing the look accurately for the character, so I ended up going over it again. While I could have just gone with the one colour glazed look, I really wanted to make sure there was the beautiful little details in the iris, but making sure that the characteristic was still present. I had to make sure to develop a lot of highlights on her nose and her lips to make sure that the shadows weren't going overboard on her face. I always like to add shadows to the eyelids as it kind of just adds dimension to the face, but when I add the fringe, it will amplify any shadows in her face. I wanted to make sure that she wasn't giving an evil or menacing look because, as much as she likes to hit you to show affection, she's not scary, she's just sweet and a very lovely character. Once I was happy enough to move on, I gave her a spray again of Mr. Super Clear Matte Varnish and started prepping my yarn wefts for application. Before we move on, I wanted to just do a quick feature of a fantastic fellow Australian artist, Doll Parade on Instagram. So many of the community have said that they wanted to see a Yue doll, and it just so happens that they recently completed their own avatar doll, and it came out beautifully. I'd highly recommend checking out their work and giving them a follow. Their dolls are always so inspirational, and it's amazing to see more Avatar related work. Links to their page will be in the description below. With TOPH's hair, she's known to kind of just chuck it up into a big bun and go along with her day. While researching the character design, I couldn't find any way to replicate this style with not having it just teased and put into a bouffant. While I could have gone with the bouffant, 2020 has really been the year of hair experimentation for me. So I thought, why not try this with TOPH as well? The Earth Kingdom, where TOPH is from, is based off ancient China. So I did a lot of research into the history of Chinese nobility hair and the various trends and styles throughout the dynasties. I ended up landing on the Tang dynasty, 618 to 907 AD, as the hair of nobility girls was styled primarily in protective braided updos to keep their hair really long and healthy. I wanted to replicate those ideas in TOPH's hairstyle while creating my own design, kind of as an interpretation of how an Earth Kingdom hairdo would be during that time. In developing the style, I kept her fringe out and styled it how I liked it before I started developing the rest of the hair. This just helps in keeping everything a little bit more organised. Once I'm happy with the fringe, I pin some wefts outward facing all around the perimeter of the hairline. This will help in creating a really nice clean edge once it's flipped backwards. Once I've done the perimeter, I section off 2 strands at the base of the neck and pin them away for later. I'll be adding a weft on top of the glue areas to hide the tracks later. To start off the style, I part the hair horizontally and create 2 separate ponytails. I also created 2 bulking wefts and placed them within each ponytail. Adding bulking wefts is always a fantastic hack when creating an elaborate hairstyle, as it gives you more hair to work with. For the crown ponytail, I spray it with some hairspray and use a toothbrush to make it really nice and glossy and smooth. And while that's still drying, I create a basic loop bun. I get a lot of questions as to why I add pins when I add the wefts, and basically while the glue is drying, the wefts tend to slip. If PVA glue leaks onto a face up, it will strip the paint and sealant and leave basically a giant bald spot. This is incredibly hard to fix, unfortunately, so I just like to make sure that I'm being extra careful when I'm using the PVA glue. With the 2 sections that I sectioned off at the nape, I 3-strand braid them, bulking them up with loose fibres on the way down. For the second ponytail, I split it into 2 sections and 3-strand braid those as well. Grabbing the 2 nape braids, I tie them together between the 2 ponytails. I cross them over on the loop bun and secure them off underneath. This just adds a little bit of accent to the bun. Once the ends of the nape braids are hidden, I grab the last braids and wrap them along the base of the loop bun. Once the hair is secure, I give it a really good spray of hairspray and get the toothbrush again and lay down any wispies that are falling out. While the style isn't canon, it provides the doll with the same character design as TOPH's original hair, with the same shape as the giant bun that she has, but adds a little bit of design and uniqueness to this doll. For TOPH's headband, I created a really basic structure out of Miliput, and I sanded it smooth and painted it with green and gold accents. I also off camera created a really small Earth Kingdom symbol in the centre, as I thought it was a little bit too plain without it. Once I was happy with the hair, I pinned up the fringe and ended up going back over the iris design as I wasn't happy with how it was looking. With Kolinsky Series 7 sable brushes in 1 and 3, and Vallejo white and Citadel Celestra Grey paint, I built up a new iris design. Once I was happy with the design and the paint was dry, I gave her a coat of Vallejo gloss varnish. For TOPH's clothes, her outfit is pretty straightforward in terms of design. She wears a summer-spring taekwondo style top and trouser set with a wrap overlay and a green belt. I decided to add some gold accents to the overlay, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't going overboard with the design. It was quite hard to find that balance in terms of the design. You want to make sure it looks lovely and unique, but you don't want to pull away from the actual character themselves, as TOPH herself is not a materialistic or appearance-driven person. While she likes to dress up and wear makeup like her time in Ba Sing Se, aesthetics as an everyday necessity is not a part of her. So I felt as if having gold accents just kind of draws the outfit together a little bit more. For the body, I went with a Twyla Little Sister body, as they are significantly shorter and smaller than your standard Monster High bodies. I sprayed it with a spray of Wraithbone spray and blushed it to match the Dracula head. Once I put her clothes together, I added just a small gold belting on top of the green belt to add a little bit of flair. Once I was happy with the clothes, I attached her head and started taking her photos. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you think of her in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, as I would really appreciate it. If you'd like to see more of this doll or any of my other dolls, make sure to check out my Instagram at etellan, and don't forget to check out the doll parade too. See you in the next video.